Yay, another time we're meeting. Okay. Wonderful. I have some notes. Yes, so I'm really looking forward to this chat because you will really begin to see the blend of MGness coming through. Because you might think it's like the simple strategy tech call, but it's so much more. And because this is ultimately a human design mentorship, we will be looking at incarnation crosses today. So the three of us will look at each other's incarnation crosses because for me in my journey, diving a little bit deeper into the purpose incarnation cross, the gene key, the gift, which is on the design side, the earth um, gate, the way that Richard Rudd transmits the information helped me a lot. And you'll see why that's been such a pivotal thing for me in my human design journey. So I figured that we would definitely look at both of yours as well. And then I have specific little tips for each one of you because I'm just still blown away that both of you have like a social that's connected with, that's the same name, and you both have websites. I literally, when I was speaking with people developing this idea still and incorporating tech, I thought I'd be starting from like ground zero. But having a website is actually really farther along than a lot of people actually start. So kudos to both of you. And then Lindsay, yours is built out. So you're like, there's a next step for you. And I felt like it will be much better. I could serve both of you better if I speak to each of you where you're at currently, which is just so cool that this intimate container allows for that, which is so awesome. Okay, so let me look at my notes. Um, Charts, yes. Okay, and this is the other note that I wanted to make. It's interesting because this tech thing is will be so practical and pragmatic, and at the same time, business and doing this in this way, like your gifts are calling you to become somebody. Or if you want to use human design and what Jenna kind of coined is the unbecoming of the conditioning and things like that. So this journey requires getting very comfortable with pressing up against your comfort zones. Becomes this sense of, so if you're like, if there's resistance, if you're hesitant, if there's fear coming up that you have to constantly face and then step through, you're right on track. You know what I mean? And so for Kristen, for you, there's, I think, posting and actually being seen as a projector. Whoa, right? And yet you're being called. And whatever iteration or whatever this will bloom for you, which could be a part of that, could be the readings and the coaching. And then yet you don't know where that's going to further you out. Like even with Jenna, when she first started teaching human design, she started with readings. And then she's like, well, that's just not practical for my energy. Like I could only really do three in one day. And for me as a manifesting generator, doing 3 hours worth of readings, which I have done in the past, that's a lot. So I can't even imagine for a projector to do that, you know? So then she had to figure out how to scale. That's when she started doing the education bit for readers. Then she moved into the app and now she's really moved into channeling her too, which is like more of that combining different things and just that naturalness information of energy. Whereas Erin Claire, I don't know too much about her, but I do know that she has more focus on the actual like teaching of human design, you know, so different projector and using her energy differently. And she also prices her readings really high so that she probably does a handful of them and that's sufficient for her, you know. But having this goal of getting launched will have you, this goal is what your soul's using so that you become or unbecome this person that you're meant to become at the end of this. You know what I mean? The result will be that too, even though it might look a little bit different than what you think. And so this business thing that we're doing, it is very much about self-development. And depending on your cosmology and your belief system, it can be a very spiritual endeavor. It can be very co-creative if you want that kind of awareness into it. But there's something within us, that we unconsciously agree to the minute we step into answering the call and like the little inclinations within us about like our gifts wanting to shine, essentially. You know what I mean? So again, I'm going to alliterate this like if you're feeling resistance or if you're facing your fears and you're constantly stepping through them, that's a great indication that you're on the right path. And I will say that the beginning, the leaps seem really big, and some of them might be really big, but you're getting prepared for even the bigger leaps that you're going to take in the future. And then the bigger leaps will be a little bit less efforting, but they will be much more like, I mean, I guess it seems like bigger scale, at least in my personal life. It's been like it felt like bigger scales, but at the same time, like the first little ones are pretty epic too, because they lead on. And all of this will make a little bit more sense when I get into my own specific incarnation cross and how I use design earth and strategy and authority essentially to land me here, which all just blends in beautifully together. Because what's interesting about purpose, the way that Richard Rudd uses it with Design Earth, is that it's in your unconscious, right? The personality gates are the things that you're more aware of for this lifetime. Everything on the design side are things that you're not super aware of. And it wasn't until I dug a little bit deeper through the gene keys into my incarnation cross that I was like, no wonder. And instead of not that I was resisting, but let's just get into it. Let's just look at my chart and stuff. We'll go and we'll see. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Let's share. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time. And even with your gene keys, we will spend, let's pull that up, adequate enough time. But more than anything, I'll post that information. You have your gene keys profile. Have either of you looked into your gene keys profile before? You have, Kristen? Okay, cool. So I think maybe maybe we didn't. Well, yeah, Lindsay, but it's kind of a cool little thing to have. It's not to like overwhelm, but it might provide that insight. And this will be something that you will integrate potentially over time. So it's not like something you have to get right away. And when you are, okay, we'll get there. We'll get there when we get there. Okay, so I have one circuit. Well, no, I have two, but my primarily circuit is a 3420. Are you both seeing my chart right now? Right? So 3420 in the moment action reveals things to me, reveals myself to me, reveals essentially like the art, like life becoming an art for me. As a Leo, that makes a lot of sense. But this 3420 is a very individual circuit, meaning, like Lindsay mentioned for one of the readings that we did in Telegram, for Miley Cyrus, like, I don't need anybody. Like, I could buy my own damn flowers, and I have been that empowered in many ways, you know? And I think that's very true for people that have single definition and people that have a lot more individual circuitry within them. And the kicker is when you look at my gene key profile, let's go search that. So I'm going to stop sharing this. I'm going to share. No, it's still showing. Stop share. Put this up front. There we go. And each of you will get this. I'll send this over to you in Telegram. And if you wanted email, I could do that too. But if you look at, so then you're like, essentially, when you're looking at the gene keys, your holographic profile, there's a lot more going on in here. You don't have, that's a little, you don't have to worry about that too much. But the 4 here, my genius, is essentially your incarnation cross. There's 192 combinations of how different gene keys can come through that Ra'uruhu channeled. There's 192, so you don't have to know all of those incarnation crosses by heart or anything like that. The way that I learned from Jenna to like synthesize or to communicate the incarnation cross thing for somebody is to take the themes or the gifts of each person, like of each gift, explain those. And then typically there is, as you're explaining it, there will be this like synthesis that happens of all 4 of them essentially. And then you could potentially add the strategy, authority, profile, and stuff like that, which you will practice doing for charts in our practice session. We'll be synthesizing incarnation cross this coming session, the next session, next Monday. But what I wanted you to look at is the purpose. what deeply fulfills me, Gate 44. And Gate 44 for me is very much about, just to like summarize this whole thing, is about working in the group, finding my soul group, essentially teamwork. When you look at Gene Key 44 up here, this little triangle shows you like the fullest expression. So teamwork, and it's like, well, but I'm so individual. So it feels like a contradiction, is that essentially? But my individuality is my life's purpose because the more individual I become and less from the, and I decondition from the programming, the more I can actually belong in any given group as a 5-1, because belonging is true connection. Because the opposite of belonging is fitting in. And it often, so it's like for me, like moving from Poland to the States, like my mom was very much about us assimilating. Like we didn't want to have an accent. Like that was, you know what I mean, taboo. And so it's like being an out, I know what it feels like to be an outsider. And most of my life, I was fitting in. And I have a lot of openness in my church. There's a lot of pressure to perform and do and be certain things. And over the course of my life, and then including yoga, where my like spiritual awakening started, and then human design have allowed me to like strip the layers. But Gene Keys was this like added layer of like, oh, the more individual I become, it's not that I need people less. In actuality, I can then plug into the team even better. And so using my human design with the teamwork, what I mean is that I started human design kind of on my own, but I reached out to Jenna to be a mentor. She was like, I'm not doing that yet. And like about a year and a half later, she did the training, and I took her training and then followed my strategy authority, became one of her recommended readers. That's, I also became a part of a team at like a local, it's called Four Moon Spa, but like I faced one of my fears and started doing readings in person before I felt ready, but it was a moment, it was like a, not a graduation, but it was just like a stepping stone in my career. And then most recently, I'm a part of a collaboration with 3 other women who bringing the human design aspect to it. And so it's like MG dream in heaven of like combining multiple different modalities to help somebody break through patterns. So we're called the Cycle Breaker Collective. And so it's just interesting how throughout my iteration of my career with human design, there have been these opportunities for me to respond to be a part of a team. Because I've accomplished quite a bit on my own, for sure, but that was a lot of my conditioning too, of like hustling, working hard. You got to do it all yourself. Some of you might know my grandma just retired at 80. So it's crazy. You know, she's been cleaning houses for like till she's 80 years old, until she could barely take it. So it's like I have this like work ethic within me, like do it all yourself. So like surrendering and letting go and being a part of a team feels very resistant to me, and it feels very unknown, like not even unknown, but like very not consciously something that I would ever feel like I would even do well with. Because as much as I wanted to fit in to the my group and collective, I am a 5-1. So like I'm meant to have multiple different kinds of groups that like I'm in, different groups of friends, reaching different many people. So not feeling like I need this one tribe, if that makes sense. But then because there was pressure to perform and be something else, I could never let my like true gifts really shine. And so I never felt true belonging that I was seeking so much with fitting in. Um, so even though it seems contradictory, it's like it was such a big aha for me. So it'll be really interesting when we look at each one of yours for you to really, and I don't think at first sight you're going to really grasp necessarily what the connection is. But like the gene keys, what Richard Rudd says a lot of the times, it's like um, this is something that you got to simmer on, contemplate. And that contemplation, we're humans. And so, like, we want things really fast. But this might be really up your alley, though, Lindsay, because as a 6, you are very much in that, like, digesting, contemplative alchemy of stuff. Even though your MGness, I'm sure, is just like grabbing up with, like, wanting to, like, have, like, a trajectory. You know what I mean? Have something to, like, let's do, let's create, let's do, because you also have the 3420, but it's in your unconscious, right? But it's an interesting interplay. So then when I do have opportunities like collaborations or like being a part of like a team, I see how supportive it is actually for me, because I blew up joining Jenna. I was doing human design by myself and it was like trickling in, but I never thought it could be anything other than until I collaborated with Jenna. And still till this day, like there's a ripple from that, the experience that I gained. And then with Hormones, being able to do meetings in person, that's like an advanced level to be able to like, you know what I mean? Like trust myself to know the information well enough to do that. And then to collaborate, it's like, okay, so it's just interesting. But ultimately using my human design strategy and authority and landing in this space of like resisting teamwork, especially with other women for a while, but that was my own wounding, to really like feeling supported by, um, yeah, because I've also had experiences where I've partnered with people and the partnership was with another person that just didn't, it fizzled out for different reasons. I could see why, even though it's felt so good at one point. But yeah, anyway, it's like a whole other story. So I'm mindful of our time together. I'm going to stop the share here and we're going to go with you, Lindsay, for the tech. Do any of you have any questions about that bit at all? Okay. Let me look at my notes if I have anything else. Okay. So we're going to look at your gene keys. Lindsay, let me pull them up. I have them on my desktop. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. And remind me, Lindsay, you have, right? Because we met through PLF, right? So you have PLF. Yeah. So PLF, Kristen, for you, if you don't know, is are you familiar with PLF, Kristen? No. So it's a marketing strategy thing that essentially marketing, and it's a part of the tech essentials to some degree because the way that you present, like the brand, all of that stuff that we're going to be talking about, getting yourself booked, has a lot to do with having people see what you got. You know what I mean? Like what you're offering. So you need a part of marketing, and we all do marketing to some degree. And both of you have websites, whether or not like yours isn't even, you know what I mean? Like yours, you have the website, Kristen, right? So you understand the importance of being um, on the like not the metaphysical, obviously, because it's like, but it's on the internet essentially, so people can search you, find you, right? So it's like that's a part of marketing. And I had so much resistance to marketing for a very long time until I was a part of this container that was actually for parents, for parenting, and then they have an amazing, powerful funnel that led me to their business side. And I got mentorship from there. And I believe Lindsay and I, we connected from the PLF program. So when I talk about PLF, it's called Product Launch Formula. It's not necessarily something that you need, Kristen. I think as a 2-4 projector, you actually might get away with a completely different thing. But if you ever are invited into a container for like marketing or something, then you're going to follow your strategy and authority, right? But Lindsay landed also in that container. And so, because you have access to that, Lindsay, we're going to talk about that, but I didn't want you to think, you know what I mean? I wanted you to be in the know too. So let me share. Oh, wait, stop share. Wait, am I sharing you? Hold on, let's see. Yeah, share. So Lindsay, this is you. Um, Life's work, what you're here to do, the evolution. 41. Oh my gosh, creativity. Like full blown expression. 41, you're laughing. But like 41 as in like the way that I understand it from Jenna. But let's see. 41, anticipation, fantasy, intent. But yeah, so this is just mumble jumble until you actually really like sit with that description for yourself and allow it to simmer. I would look at the descriptions of Richard Rudd with the gene keys because essentially these are the 64 themes of life I Ching. The gene keys just really hones in on that. So Richard Rudd was a contemporary of Ra Uru Hu. And Richard Rudd was actually, he was a student of Ross for a long time, and he did HD analysis. He wrote a couple books on human design. And then he's like, There are certain things that I don't really agree about, like the way that you see the future. I don't agree about how you see that. You see it so darkly. I see potential. And he really believed, he then channeled over the course of 10 years this depth of the gene keys. So that's where that comes from. But it's all about, it all has the same root, which is the Yi Ching. And another bit, maybe this is a little advanced, but I'm going to go there. Um, Raoul found human design to be a very closed system, meaning he's like, do not defer from my keynotes. Like my keynotes are the transmission that will provide the transformation. I found that the way that Jenna puts it to the ground level has also helped me and many people. And he was also like, you don't coach, you just share the information. The information's enough. Spoken so true, like as a 5-1, like just then give them the information and then peace out. And I did that for a long time. And I'm like, no, I actually do enjoy the like coaching thing. Um, Richard Rudd, on the other hand, he's like, everything is organic. Life is like, evolves and it moves. And like, how can even his work, he's like, yes, this is like the essence and stuff, but he's like, this is also like my translation of it. So the more you contemplate, the more you actually integrate or sit with or learn by reading like into your chart or other people's charts, you have these gates like maybe especially for you, Kristen, with the two, you might hear yourself say something. But then actually even for you too, Lindsay, with the 3420, and that's why I believe that like coming to this with like a pureness to serve, but also getting compensated well for it, which is not a bad thing to desire. But coming from a place of like purity and serving as a human, right? We have the full spectrum, but like there's this like intention. And when you have practices that continue to like, I don't want to say purify, but that you continue to work on your own stuff, then you can really trust that you're showing up to every session, that you're showing up to anything that you're posting from a place of like transmitting things that are of the highest good for everybody. And then that's when you could potentially trust the information once it's integrated within you to become this like wisdom versus just knowledge, you know? But it is a very advanced thing to grasp that not any system, like yoga even, like is not this like set rules, you know? Um, so yeah, hopefully it didn't like shake too much up, but just something to keep in mind. And again, Ra was like, this is it. Nobody else defer from this school, da da da. And then Richard Rod's like, I don't know. And so he gave his licensing back to Ra so that he could do his own thing. And then with Aaron and then with Jenna, human design took another breath in, especially in the West, in the States and stuff like that and beyond, because of the way they were able to bring it in, grounding it versus, anyway. Okay. So what fulfills you deeply, I would definitely sit with the 41 and I would look at how Richard describes it through the gene keys and then also how Jenna through her book. I think both of you have her book. Just sitting with that and like my purpose, what deeply fulfills me. And your inner purpose is to feel the sheer joy of life throbbing. Oh, sounds so beautiful. You just gotta like sit and read that for yourself. But you need to go deep within yourself to sense this wave. Oh, hold on. You're ahead of your era. By following your life's work, you will catch the crest of a new wave that is emerging. Like that's so on. But see, just reading those little sentences, I could see how that really embraces your MG-ness, newness, alchemizing things, being on the edge of, and then also like the six, right? Like being like shining as that role model, and potentially feeling that call to come off the roof, but feeling very safe on the roof still right now, or like because there's still this chaos almost of things like things are no longer not even no longer serving, but like things that you need to let go of from certain things so that you can build this new path forward. It doesn't mean that you're completely leaving something behind, but you're taking pieces that like you want to bring forward with you when it comes to like disciplines, like the multi-disciplines that you're gonna bring together for something new, um, Ooh, the highest level of this gift is about aligning yourself to an energy that has not yet fully arrived in this world. This is an incredible, exciting role to have. And if you do not feel this excitement welling up within you regularly, then you have not caught the right wave. Ooh. But that's also like, but that anticipation, right? I can understand that feeling of like, what's coming, and like, yeah. Okay. So sitting with that, and are you good with this, or do you have any questions? Do you want to share anything, Lindsay?
Um, it's interesting. I think I'll have to sit with like the creativity because it's not something that I
Mm,
see in myself so much, but like elements of this fit in different ways. So I feel like that's really part of where I'm finding myself currently in this space of what does this all look like going forward and how can I hold it all, if that makes sense. Um, yeah.
and even the word anticipation when it comes to PLF, and like how Emma and Eleanor, the Kristen, the two women that like introduced us to PLF, their coach, um, how they really mastered that of like, I'm just gonna let you know just enough and keep you kind of like on the hook, right? But that creates this like trigger, then that allows you to like kind of like pounce, but then like you have that like within you. Yeah, the other thing I would say for you, Lindsay, is because you have Ra's book, it could be kind of cool if it's not too overwhelming, is to go because he has a description of all the gates. Look at his that's like the most literal thing that he translates into, and then how Jenna, because then Jenna has her own iteration of what this means, and then Richard. But Richard, like if you got his book, it's like a thick book, and it's like pages worth of just like this key. And I could see where Jenna got creativity from because this 41 is literally like out of the ethers into the present moment, like bringing something forth essentially. So maybe not creative as like a medium, even though that can express itself that way. But again, the 41 for you is also unconscious. So it is this thing that like, you're gonna have this different relationship with it than you would with maybe your top two, which are these two, the 20 and 27. But yeah. But it would be kind of fun to see, I would think. I mean, as a one, I love all the information, so it could be kind of fun to see the three different people and what they have to say about like your purpose, what deeply fulfills you, and how that could potentially show up in your life. But I would love to share, if you don't mind, your website. I gotta say that nothing happens by accident. And how insane is it that both of you are in Canada? Isn't it right? Like, well, I gotta see your face. Isn't that wild? So then, Kristen, you're in such luck that Lindsay is like, she has a website built out and she already has a booking system. Because the booking system that I was going to show you works for me in the States. I believe it would work for you too internationally. However, I don't know. I don't actually know that. So having a booking system that Lindsay already uses, like you could share your thoughts about it, Lindsay, too. Um, like what you don't like about it. But it seems very similar to Square, which is Square Up or Square that I use. It seems very similar to integrate. But it is one of those like key things that we'll talk about for you, Kristen's, yeah, to set up. But Lindsay, I want to show your website. Where do I have that? I have so many tabs open. I guess while I'm looking up both of those things, how do you like the Jane app, Lindsay?
Um, so it for me, it's familiar. I've used it for a long time, not for myself, but in other um, practices. So that's part of why I stayed with it. But I looked at a lot. It's potentially more than you need because like a big part of why I have it is because I can keep notes and I mean, but you can upload charts and you can do any of that through it. So I do like it. It takes payments, but it can also be set up to take insurance payments and all of that, which is probably not something that you need to worry about. Um, I looked at a lot of them and they're all kind of similar in pricing is what I found. And so it just felt easy
Okay.
to stay with that.
So Jane app, does it take a percentage of your sales or do you have to actually pay for it to have it?
Both.
Both.
So it doesn't take a percentage of your sales, but there is a fee if it processes credit card.
Yeah.
Like, so anything, if it's using that, then it is a fee, but it's not very high. But you do pay monthly.
Okay. So that's good to know, Kristen. But then the other thing is that you could use what I've been using, which is free to completely set up and just see if that actually works in Canada. I don't know. I just thought that like how cool would it be if that's like the answer because, um, and it's interesting because Square Up actually allows you to have your own website to post like products and does even marketing, but the marketing is a separate fee. But to start booking, and you could use Calendly. Maybe you're familiar with Calendly. A lot of people use Calendly, so you could do that. I
But
think it's free.
I also think Squarespace, your website's with Squarespace, Kristen.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think you can also, there's some booking sort of thing you can do through them too. I think it's an add-on you have to pay for. I haven't looked into it too much because I knew I was going to have something external
more robust.
anyway, but yeah.
Okay, so we'll get to Kristen when we, yeah, but I just thought that maybe that was going to be very helpful. But I think that Jane app is a little bit more robust than even what I use for what you specifically have. But Lindsay, holy moly, to have a website with like the front page about me, you have a sign up link, all of that. Epic, you know what I mean? Like that's huge. It's a huge undertaking. Kristen, you're not going to need all of it at once, but it's just nice to, you probably have an idea where you want to go, but definitely don't need all of this to like start getting booked or start getting bookings. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, this is beautiful. Lindsay, like how cool. Congrats on that. Um, and okay, I love Brian Brown. Love the picture. Um, where did I wanted to start? I remember. Um, yeah, so the notes, let me look at my notes. Um, the
So I set
content,
it up so that the goal, well, I originally just had services, and then when you go there, I have like what it goes to, but then I changed it in the other thing to say like my psychology services because I was like longer term and maybe I can branch out and incorporate different things and that people can still access it all in one space, but find what they're looking for. Yeah.
yeah. And I also know that when, so in terms of like human design, like I would definitely suggest having, I don't know how that works with the Jane services, but like, or app, but I would definitely have, where is it, contact or book somewhere? You had the booking somewhere. I forget where that was. So I saw
It
it
was in the services, I think.
in the services. Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
The
okay,
booking apps up top. Yeah.
got it. So I wonder if you can actually create another one of these specific for human design, because I think adding it to here, would you be able to add another booking thing or no? Is it just, I wonder, because that could be something that could be helpful. It doesn't even have to be like on the front end necessarily. Um, but because I just want to say, because I know that one of the things that you've been thinking about is like you have a psychology like license, right? And that's it's like there's guidelines that you need to follow, like for good reason. You know what I mean? Um, so my tip like was to create another one of these that's specific for human design. Like if you wanted to do readings, and I know that you're not sure like how you even want to go about that, but if you yeah, if you wanted to end up being recommended, like we kind of talked about, and you're not sure if you wanted to, I think having separate one because having human design readings here could be a little bit confusing. even though I think that on the human design side, saying that maybe not licensed, but that you have a psychological like spin on it. There's this woman called Danielle Beinstein. I could on Telegram send you her Instagram link, but she does like psychological astrology. And so she combines the two. You're familiar, Kristen? Yeah. Are you familiar with her, Lindsay, at all?
I think someone's mentioned her, but I don't
Okay.
know. Yeah.
Yeah. So just really cool because she I think charges like 550 USD for a session and she gets booked out, she has courses, but she has this unique perspective because she's using her fascination with and her studies in of psychology. Like I think she has like advanced studies, but she doesn't actually have the license. You know what I mean? Not like you. But I think that you can yield and blend that in a way of like, this is like my way that like because also the way that you've been voice noting in Telegram, I could tell that it is this like two-way street. It's not like I'm just going to download this information for you to you, you know? It is like, well, I wonder what kind of questions are coming up for you. Like, how do you feel? Like, how do you resonate? It's just this, it's this natural way for you to like be in container with somebody. Um, which can also be very like healing and sacred for people to have that be held that way, you know, and you could market that, but that it's like separate from this
I think
potential.
that's the challenge for me, or like, because I just thinking about doing a reading doesn't really appeal to me. Like just
Yeah,
giving someone information,
yeah,
but maybe more of like a coaching sort of, even if it is like, 3 sessions and whatever, to like see how that stuff lands. Or I don't know what it looks like,
yeah.
but
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, I've often felt like one sometimes just isn't enough, but because it came from that school of like you give them the information, like should be kind of good thing, but leaning into and you already have that skill set, then absolutely. And having packages that way, so then they feel like you don't have to fit it all in either. It could be a lot more relaxed for both of you, you know? Absolutely. Um, yes. But thinking about separating that and then thinking for you, because you have have you gone through the PLF at all? Like, does that resonate to you at all, Lindsay, about like using it somehow or like marketing to people through email? Oh, okay.
Yeah, the challenge for me is like I'm struggling in understanding how to make it fit, because like I can get email addresses here and I have some ideas for like getting more and creating like a starting to build my list. But my challenge is like confidentiality stuff, and not necessarily confidentiality, but like using clients in my email list. Like I don't know how
Yeah.
that works. So like, I mean, obviously they need to sign up for marketing or not. And so there will be a different demographic that will do that. But I think that's some of what holds me back and why I haven't really like dove into the email marketing yet, because I'm not really sure what it is that I'm marketing. I can't market I can't market what I'm already offering that way. It would have to be something new. And so that's where it's held me back, I think.
Mhm. Yeah, it doesn't have to be something completely new, if that makes sense. Like people like to just be connected sometimes, you know, but you're totally right. Like somebody would have to, like, I did the mistake of when I started PLF, I just took all the emails I could possibly find of all the readings I've done. And I learned what a big no-no that is later. But I was like, oh my gosh, okay, yeah, I have, 300 whatever people from like the past that I've been able to like gather all these emails from. And they're like, that's like illegal, not illegal, but like get you in trouble. Um, but then giving those people an option to like, hey, do you want to stay on my list or not? And then I still struggle with people that sign up for me now currently, even just asking them if they want to be a part of like marketing for some reason. I do. So most people come through things that I offer on my social. That's how I'm continuing building my list, truly. But it just really depends on how you feel and how connected you are. But people can probably gain a lot of insights from you by you just popping in. It could be even like quarterly, but like you have a quarterly email that you write, and then subtly in there, not even subtly, but there is this intention of like, here's how you connect. Here's how you could actually book the sessions with me still. The psychology ones, not just human design. You know what I mean? Like, and then at some point too, you can have, depending on what you're planning on doing with your Instagram, you could have your list be segmented. Like you have the people interested in the HD stuff, and then you have people who are interested in just the psychology. Or, I think with the HD, it's going to be a blend of both and whatever else. It's probably going to be a blend, and eventually might be a blend of it all for everybody, you know? But I think that with the license, um, it might be trickier for you if you don't have it separated for now, if that makes sense. You could probably still offer coaching like you want to in packages for sure, with the human design. But it's like, here's, like like or my spin on, or, like not even my version, but this extra edit thing that I've seen helpful in my life kind of thing. You know what I mean? For people, because I know you've used it in sessions already, which is cool, probably, right? When you felt the nudge too. And so you see the value that it could provide in the insights, but then that I think will be the growing edge. But then for like signing up, how often are people signing up through this link right here for you?
Not very often. But
Yeah.
like I said, it's a very different
Yes, 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 yeah.
demographic, right? Of people that
Totally. Yeah. I would, but if you wanted to grow, um, in terms of like the marketing and like being pushed against your edges and things like that, then I would move the subscribe button to like a little bit more up, like probably just underneath your banner. And you could just it can just start with like staying in touch, and then maybe having like a commitment of like writing a quarterly email and like being very clear about receiving a quarterly email of like um and I bet you I don't know if there's themes that come up for people around holidays or things like that that you could speak to. It doesn't even have to be a product that you're offering just yet, but there is a sense of like this continued connection and support that they could get from you outside of like a session in an email, like stay connected to Lindsay kind of thing and see because there's a lot brewing in your life too, and that could be a cool way of like, 'cause about you wrote about how there are all these things that you're doing. Like you actually have so much you could write about, so much you could post about, right? And it's just a new way of communicating, a new thing to like put into the like routine, but that would be the marketing for sure. Um, yeah. And I think having an Instagram already gives you some sort of presence. And how do you see using social media as a marketing strategy for your business to like grow it?
social media has been a sticking point. It's challenging for me. I don't actually have a social media presence and haven't for a very long time. And so it's all very new.
Yeah. Like,
Um, but the goal ultimately for me is like, I mean, I'm a psychologist and people can access me. I like my website is on there, but the point, and I did an intro thing and I ultimately said what my thoughts around my Instagram or using that is more about like sharing my own journey and the
yes,
things that have supported me because I feel like in doing that, that's also how I'm going to get clients that are aligned with like how I operate and like how, yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And then what's beautiful about that is that you could take those posts that you're like ruminating on or wanting to share about what's really true for you in the moment. Then you could craft an email to support that. And you don't have to craft it every time you post, but you could just expand a little bit deeper. But that would be my biggest suggestion for you, Lindsay, is like really moving that. Um, I don't know if it's like an easy widget or if you made your own website, if somebody helped you with this, but like putting it up and having sign up to receive news and updates. I would say like to stay like in touch with, the newest thing or something like that, but like it doesn't have to be anything that you're giving them to them just yet, if that makes sense. But if you ever do have a product or an idea or you're moving, then you can communicate that, which I think for you, that's going to be your next step. Like that's going to be the growing edge of like, okay, like what's my, if I am going to use social media as like a strategy, which it sounds like you are, even though you're going to be doing it from like a personal brand place, from your own personal growth, which is so on par with like a six. You know what I mean? Like, and then the four, like connections, continuing to build connections. So very much like a true 4-6 profile spoken like, and it's just a matter of feeling and being on the roof, connecting with what's true for you, and then facing that fear, stepping over that by starting to share about it. And maybe just choosing social media being that is like you start posting a little bit more regularly. And then you start to potentially be like, okay, how do I craft an email from this? And then add that.
Do you have any tips on like, I mean, I have PLF, so I'm sure I just find sometimes it's overwhelming when I'm not there yet at the point of like building the list or like doing the things. So I know I haven't gotten as much out of it as I can, but it's sometimes those things like the just the practicality of like making an Instagram post or like that feels overwhelming to me. And I'm like, oh, I'm done. Like even for me when I first tried to do anything, and then I was like, you can't even make spaces on Instagram. This is ridiculous. And so then I had to like start writing it out in like a Word document and then like copy and pasting because I was like, what is happening? And so that stuff just feels overwhelming. And I'm like, I'm clearly old.
And
Don't
yeah,
do
um,
social. This is not my strong point.
mhm, which is totally okay. And that can be something that at some point maybe you do delegate. But I think there is something to because like posting as frequently as I have, or like even writing emails, it's definitely not something I had so much resistance to all of this. But I also understood that if like I was going to do for me myself personally, like I was going to take this seriously, and this is where it led me to. So when I was led to PLF, that was a month before. I think some of you might, both of you might know this, but like I joined PLF in September. It was a big like leap to take, invest that much in it. Even it was like just $2,000. It was still like I hate marketing. Why am I investing in marketing? But then on October 1st, Jenna's like, hey, this is the last month I'll be recommending readers on my website. And my husband's like, oh my gosh, like, had you not purchased this thing, you would have been a sitting duck. And then, like implemented certain things from that and then made like all the money, like made that money and some by the end of the year. You know what I mean? And then continue to refine that strategy because I was like, I trust my response so much. I'm like, I got into this funnel like for like a random reason, but I'm in this funnel. I'm recognizing them in a funnel, but I'm also having a response. And then that confirmation from Jenna happened. And so it's like I couldn't no, I had no longer because I went all in on human design after having my daughter after my maternity leave. I was like, I can't ride Jenna's coattails. And I knew that at some point that was gonna have to change if I was gonna, grow. Um, so PLF came. And so like I really trusted that response. And I was like, okay, well then if this is what you got to do to market and get yourself out there, you know what I mean? Like to have an online business, like I'm gonna give it all that I can and see where it takes me, you know? So I think I was like hungry, if that makes sense. And I didn't want to do anything else. Oh, Kristen, can we go a little over? Do you think? Are we okay going a little over? Yeah. Um, but for me too, Lindsay, I will say that at the very beginning, making moves and like not overthinking about social media so that I could just post and not necessarily ghost, but like not overthink every single little thing because that was keeping me from posting. And my time to devote to that became shorter and shorter. And I was like, I only have, especially when my daughter stopped napping, I was like, I have this much to get back to DMs to post something. And it's like, I just have to be so efficient and just get it out there because I believe that sharing is And that's literally like my SEO on my website has grown because of that. Like, because when people search certain things, your Instagram will come up. You know what I mean? So it's like having some sort of titles and things in your post, but that doesn't really matter at the very beginning. At the very beginning, you just want to start having like a posting schedule. And for you, that could be once every 2 weeks. It could be once a month, but you have something that like you think about the idea, and I promise that the time from the idea and the execution becomes shorter because you do also get used to the tech. The tech is something, I'm not going to lie. Like every platform has something else, and but now on Instagram I think you can do the spacing right there and then. It's gotten a little bit easier, and it's just a matter of like I'm gonna like learn this because this is a part of like the strategy that I want to utilize for my business, which is a part of my spiritual. And then if you see it as a spiritual growth thing, you know, it's like what is this fear, what's the resistance? And there was a lot of, for me, a lot of lethargy that I had to move through. Like I almost became so tired. Like all of a sudden I had no energy for it. I'm like, but wait, that's not true. So it was my way. My body was keeping me in my old patterns and keeping me safe because putting yourself out there is a thing. So I thought that I was gonna do this just for Kristen, but the I would highly recommend Alexis Smart, and I'll post her in Telegram too, Wallflower, just to get the fear out of posting, get yourself out there. But if there's like true like immobilizing anxiety around posting, then I would do like First Aid Kit or Sound, Safe and Sound. I've done all three of them before, but those are flower essences. They help there. It's not um, the oils, it's essences that help like with your energetic, um, emotional fields. So, man, these are more like one-on-ones than like, sorry, but not sorry either. Let's see. Let's go to Kristen. And if anything, we could always continue on in Telegram, or Kristen and I, we could like figure something out too, just to honor the time. But I feel like I shared with Lindsay probably was helpful for you too. There's probably parts that were helpful.
Mm-hmm. And I actually, Lindsay, I have some things I wrote down. I don't know if these would be helpful. But just in terms of your marketing email, everyone out here uses the Jane app. So I'm so used to subscribing and like signing up for my things. And I know that there's like a section where people can check off where it's like receive emails and promotions from this. And so again, I don't know what the legality is, but like the idea of like adding another checkbox right below where it's like subscribe to learn more about Lindsay's all like other services, including human design, because then maybe right there they would subscribe. And then the idea with that, like with sharing like a quarterly email, it could be like updates from like Lindsay McNeil HQ. And again, like if you're talking about themes or you're giving quick tips, and then it could also be a sub like a section where it's like also my human design services are taken off. I've been looking at these themes have been coming up with people in readings. If you're curious about human design or you want to be a part of like that, you can subscribe here and they can be segmented to like a different email list because then it can be just a dedicated one for that. And then also with posting on social, I mean, I haven't posted at all. So like I totally understand the fear of it and just the paralyzing, like I don't know what to do. But if you look at Erin, Claire Jones, if you look at Jenna, if you look at there's Vanessa Henry, she's huge for variable, but they have such simple templates. Like it's nothing fancy. And I get so in my head too. I'm like, like, what am I gonna do? Like I don't have a template. And so I think that could be helpful too. Just like using your brand colors. And even if it is just like you alternate between like a dark blue background or whatever it is with like your other font on top, it could be that simple, just to like starting to get going. I think
Amazing.
that's all I wrote down.
Yeah.
And then if you need help with scheduling out here, I think it's available in the States too, but Later is a scheduling platform and I think it's free. Once you have so many clients on there, I think you have to pay. I haven't used it in over a year. I used to work in social media. And we would use that for clients, but you can do everything, plan it out, do your spacing, add your hashtags, all of that stuff.
Mommy, is baby Benny Bugs him?
So sweet.
Thank you.
That's incredible. That's gold, especially because if you work in social media stuff, then you probably know about the Canva and all that stuff, Kristen.
Yeah, so I am not comfortable with the design aspect of social media. And so, yeah, I have my Canva. I just got a notification for my invoice for my monthly Canva, and I'm not using it because I'm like, I get so stuck and I'm like, I don't know what template to create. So I'm speaking to myself, giving this advice, but yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, but having Canva is huge. If you're having a subscription, that could be very motivating, or you could just pause your subscription if you didn't pay ahead of time, which can take the pressure off, truly, because I think you could still use a lot without going pro, but the pro is just, it just makes things so much effortless with the brand and stuff. But I think that if you're going to start, um, yeah, um, my little joined me on an earlier call today, so just so cute. Okay, but this is, am I sharing? And I'm not sharing the screen. Let me share the screen. And we could actually yeah, share screen purpose. What deeply fulfills me is gate 4 for you, Kristen. But you said that you've already looked into this aspect.
The person who introduced me to human design originally also introduced me to Gene Keys. So this was years ago now. So I don't know it intimately. I do have the Gene Keys book though, so I can look at it more closely.
Amazing. Great. Okay. Which I would suggest to do if you have the time. But as a 2/4, I don't know, your time might be used. Yeah. So maybe this little synopsis could be very just enough. But again, like relationship patterns, the 4s, even in this, is very much like about relationships. So um I wonder how that would land for you when you as you go through life experiences, you're being given a beautiful opportunity to understand human beings and their suffering, and in understanding where their suffering comes from, to forgive them and let them be. That's beautiful for the way that you want to potentially hold space for people. And with your emotional authority, you have this flavor to you than like that Kristen and I, or Kristen, that Lindsay and I probably, that we don't. We can empathize, but for you, like, you have a depth of understanding of the humanness that like we get from the emotionals. And I think that's going to be one of the things that you also bring to the table when it comes to like, for good, like you literally like lean on the um just, I mean, I guess you'll see as a projector how your genius comes through as you start doing it, but like lean on the emotions. Like Jenna does, like she's blowing up, and a big thing of that is like in her stories, like she just reminds us to like get our like the vibe check. And it's all about like connecting with the feeling of the of life. You know what I mean? There's something there for you with the gate 4. And gate 4, the way that Jenna describes it is like, and I think even Raw, it's like making sense of chaos. And so it's like it's in the ajna. Oh yeah. So you're probably familiar, but that's, and it's a gift that you may do for yourself and others. The one thing that I would not safeguard, but just have a way that you're able to close the container once you're done with people, or once you're done with like kind of ruminating around something, because like this could probably like overtake your mental process. It's like, okay, we're gonna come back to this chaos when there's more information. Right now, we've gone through the ground so many times. If you feel yourself ruminating on something too much, these gates work for you. These gifts work for you. Okay, but so it's so cool that you're familiar with Jane App. Are you, speaking of marketing and stuff, are you going to go the Jane App route, you think, or Calendly? What are you thinking?
I haven't actually looked into them. I've been recommended, I think Calendly was one of them, Square, the one maybe that you yeah, so I've been recommended a couple of them. Jane app never came up. I never thought of it because again, I use it for all of my wellness stuff, right? Like RMTs and whatnot. So probably not, but I will look into the other suggestions.
Yeah,
I'm also going to be moving soon,
you are.
so I won't be in Canada anymore.
That's
So,
true. You're gonna be global, right? You're going
mhm,
to Switzerland, right?
mhm.
Yeah. So I wonder because I have we in this collaboration, and one of them is in Vienna. So I think I'm gonna ask her what she uses to do. But Square is online. but she uses Stripe. And so Square doesn't connect with Stripe. And she
Oh,
also,
right.
Mhm.
Yep, Stripe has been another one that I was recommended, I believe.
But I don't know if Stripe does booking. So like I use Square and I love Square because it's free. You get a
Mm-hmm.
higher fee of like being charged as the process, like being processed, but it's nice to like just get started. You know what I mean? Because at the beginning you might go like a couple weeks or a month and like you're not getting anything. So it's so nicely just like minimize your monthly output, you know?
Yeah, I'll look into that where it's available.
Yeah. But so then I would really start with Square, because Square, you can add Square directly to book me on your Instagram or other apps you can't, which is nice. So then just for you, Kristen, like just to get started, you could literally do that. So that means you could have your calendar open. So it would take a little bit of work of like talking about, and we're going to talk about money in 2 weeks from now, but like how much for and like what services you want to offer. Do you want to do the half hours? I still have half hours, even though I hate them when they get booked, but I like them for different reasons. But I think for both of you, Lindsay and Kristen, I think having not bundles, but kind of like that, and maybe have like 10% off if you get like three at a time or something like that, and highly suggest that. Especially for you, Kristen. Oh no, for you, Kristen, the other thing that I had in mind is having a recording or video, depending, maybe it's recording at the very beginning of just like what is an energy type, like just so that you could get through energy strategy and authority potentially. And who if someone books you and they're like, a splenic projector, then you give them the splenic projector thing. So then when you're doing the reading, you could go as deep as you want because you automatically wanted to like you're fascinated by like the gates and you know what I mean. So that you will touch on that in readings, um, but sometimes the time won't allow you depending on how much you're explaining the energy type. You know what I mean? But if you want to go there without having bundles of things, like sending them something like that ahead of time that's included in the price could be cool.
I was actually thinking about not a video, but I do like that because then it can't exactly be copied and pasted. But I was thinking about sending them something ahead of time once they've booked, where it breaks down a lot of the human design terminology and the key elements for them so that they can come to it with at least some sort of understanding.
Love it, especially if they're completely new, which a lot of people probably will be, which is awesome. I love the copying and pasting. But do you see how easier it is for me to like record something? That's why I'm like, that's my go-to. But the writing for you in Telegram, you're totally right. Like you could just do that and then you have that template, right, in your Google Docs or something. So I use Google Docs for a lot of things. Trello might be a little bit too advanced to talk about right now, but Trello is essentially where you would put the and I'm not even that great at using Trello myself. So, but it's there. I have it set up and I've used it for like launching sequences. So I have all of my assets in there because like then you at some point you reuse your assets and your testimonials and things like that. But Google Docs is incredible. Now Google Docs, you could have one document, but then you have maybe I could show you my Google Docs. I'll stop the share here just to show you how I organize it, but it sounds like you're pretty well organized. Is this it? Yeah, share. So then this is like what I have notes for booked, but let me move you over here. But I have I have many different, like docs. So it's like if you go in here, this is my Google Drive. I have creative flower essences because I'm making them now. Shapeshifters, couples guides, but you go in here, it has my to-do list at the beginning. And but the cool thing here is that I go into my tabs. Is it loading? Okay. So I go into my tabs. So this is my rebrand, my human design stuff, but it just opens these up and this could be like a little bit overwhelming. But then I scroll down to booked. And here's where I have my little notes for what we're going to talk about. But what I love about Google Docs now is because it does have these document tabs. So I have one for creative, which is like how I have my to-do list, like my reels, my posts. It's not where you keep your assets, but it's where you could keep your like mental, you know what I mean? Like how you get down there. But that could be very helpful. So Google Docs for that. Do you have a Zoom? Because you would have to deliver somehow. The other thing I was thinking is that you can do recording. A lot of times readers they won't start live. I'm very happy I started live. And I think, Lindsay, you're ready for live because you already do that interaction, even though it's not purely human design. Kristen, I think you're ready too. Just a matter of like how familiar you are and if you have Zoom. Zoom will cost you. It's like $160 now for the hour to be able to go an hour length. It's free if you want to go 45 minutes, but you're probably going to want to have an hour. And so 160 for the year is not actually bad. It's just going to become one of your expenses. You know what I mean? Like one reading should be able to cover that for the rest of the year type of thing, you know?
Yeah, I had Zoom. So yeah, I was doing the monthly. I just put it on a pause a couple months ago. So yeah, that's already set up. I've used it in because I've done a few practice readings with my friends, so that's what I was using.
Oh, and you were doing them online.
Yeah.
Amazing. Oh my gosh. Like both of you are so much further along than um okay, so let me see. Flower essence, I'll send that over to you. I'm thinking wallflower for you, that's what downloaded, but definitely when you go to the flower essence page, look like work through your like emotional wave and see what stands out. But I think wallflower is nice for just it's kind of like what it sounds like. Like you see the party going on, but you feel like socially like, but that could potentially open you up for social engagement on social media. I wouldn't, yeah, I would definitely suggest that. And then for your website, if you're gonna go with Square, then you won't necessarily need this right away, but it'll be beautiful just to even get like just the front page. About me is a little bit more advanced, but like I would suggest this being something that you work towards. Yeah, book me. So that's not, you're gonna have potentially Square, but you could build it out a little bit more and then the marketing and everything else can come after that. You can collect emails with Square, but Square, you gotta, it's like an add-on or you pay every time you email a marketing thing. So I use MailChimp outside of that. I would use ConvertKit. If I could do it again, I would do Kit. ConvertKit, but Kit, maybe you've heard of it too, for email campaigns at some point. But I think for you to get launched, Kristen, it's like either Calendly or Booked, but not Booked, but Square. Look if it could be used in Switzerland. Otherwise, I'm going to ask my friend what she uses for, because she uses Stripe. But I wonder what she does for booking because she also does dance classes in Vienna. So I wonder, because Stripe is universal, because I think, Lindsay, you've had some trouble purchasing things through like My Square before, right? Yeah. And especially if you want to break up the payments, like Stripe is like the go-to and it's international. But I don't know about their booking system.
Okay.
Yeah. And then for IG, I think the like if you can at the end of this week, like have some sort of like color picture. I think at first having your own picture up there, a bio. Yeah. And then I said
Yeah.
start posting your synthesis. Like I think that I don't know because you have it's like marketing. Hannah stands. I'll send her to you in Telegram is the course that I'm doing through the collaboration that I'm with and it's called Personally Branded. But essentially, she's like, look, like, don't overthink the content. Like, you just can't. It's like you go to the beach, no one is speculating over 1 gram of sand. But essentially, your content, you produce it, you put it out there, all of it then says, like, I'm at a beach. You know what I mean? It creates the beach, it creates the sand.
Mhm.
But it's not the 1 gram that stands out and taking things less personally. And I don't want to put this on you, Kristen, though, because anything could like take off. I have one personal thing that's like semi trending right now, and I got like over 100 follows just like that. So you just never know. But
Mhm.
it is about the hooks. And yeah, people are kind of reluctant with their follows. It just depends, you know what I mean? But like, using your 2-4 and that genius that we both witnessed with you synthesizing things. So it's just a matter of getting your phone up with nice lighting and then just like doing your thing. Seriously. You could even use those 2 other, charts that we did. You could already use the stuff that you already have.
Yeah, so actually today it just arrived. I did get like a phone stand.
Ah,
So I'm just gonna try it with this for now, like this microphone, and then I'll go from there in terms of like if I need another one. I also have been working on my bio because
ah,
I'm trying to weave in the enjoy your stay. I'll just post it here in the chat. I'm following a formula from another marketing thing that I have been a part of.
okay.
So this would be for like the different, how it's spaced out on the different lines is where it would appear for like the name and then next, next, next. So something like this. So the Kristen Human Design would be like the name where like the keywords are self-discovery reimagined, helping you simplify your path forward because my gift in human design is 23. So it's this distilling it down. Anyways, this is just what I had come up with so far.
Ding! I love the bell, love it all. You have a bio, you got to post it. You got to post it. You got to post your picture. That's going to be like, really like a step forward for sure. I love this, and I love what you just said about the 23 and having that be a part of something that you then pin to the top at some point. You don't feel like you have to do your post chronologically because now Instagram, you can rearrange it, which is amazing. You can
Oh,
rearrange
that's nice.
but I don't think it's so trial reels is amazing, but I don't think it's for new accounts. So you'll get that at some point. And then I think maybe it's like 100 or 1,000 people following you, but trial things are cool. And you could always archive stuff too. You know what I mean? So it's like I would just start posting and seeing what and do you use ChatGPT at all?
No, I just because I'm doing this marketing thing right now. It's like a human design marketing thing. And there were some chat GPT prompts, and honestly, I can't believe it. I can't believe what it's capable of. I'm also like, I don't know morally how I need to let that sit and like figure out how I would use it because it completely spit out, here's your sales page, here's all your carousel posts, here's everything. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. Like it was based off of I put in my ideal client like information. And then from there they created this thing. And I was just like, whoa, I don't know how to feel about this.
And it's a genius of the person that's actually asking the prompt. But it's interesting because I worked with ChatGPT too, and to translate it, to take it from that black page, actually to make it physical, is the human touch to it. And it doesn't always translate. So even if it's giving you this stuff, it's amazing at taking like a blank, like you don't know where to start with marketing, and it's giving you a formula. Like that's amazing. I sometimes brainwash. I sometimes brainstorm with it, but ultimately what gets created is my own, you know what I mean? My own version. So it's just interesting. Like, but yeah, just depending, I wonder how it's going to land for you, but it is pretty incredible. But people are utilizing it. So imagine like, use that, I don't know. It's a whole other conversation, but yeah. I was just gonna say though, with ChatGPT, I was like, oh yeah, you could use it for hashtag ideas. And you're like, I have landing pages. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, which is incredible. Awesome. So do any of you have any questions for me then, in terms of like tech stuff? Because it sounds like a lot of you have a handle, like you have the tools, like I'm familiar with PLF, I'm familiar with personally branded and some marketing strategy through Hannah Stans. Yeah, do you have anything specific for me?
I just have a question because I'm starting out. I just wanted your opinion on this. So basically, it's like I do really feel like I need to start posting. I've been feeling like I need to do video for a while. That's a really big thing for me to get over. It's very uncomfortable, but like I know it's something I need to do. But what I don't, so my question is it okay if I just start posting on my brand page, even though it's not yet going to be the brand photo shoots done and all of these pieces are like there? Like, is that going to detract not having that and just starting? Because in my mind, I'm like, I need to start doing this to get comfortable. I need to start doing this to build up. So when people do find me, it's like I have a catalog of stuff and they can hear the way I speak and see what I'm sharing and know what it's about versus just waiting and waiting for like all of these, you know what I mean? Because with the brand story, like how I envision it with, taking place in a hotel and I want to get those images at a hotel and that will really bring it together. But I also created my first post where I go into the meaning behind it. So it will be there. I just don't have all those finishing touches.
Yes. And what do you think?
Well, I'm at the place where I just want to post.
Yes, then post. Seriously, post. Yeah, exactly. I think, and what's cool and refreshing about some of the people that are kind of up there now and who are even helping people with branding, you scroll down enough and you're like, okay, yeah, you've started somewhere too. And people like that humanness of it too. It's like, I'm starting my journey kind of thing for sure. And at any moment, you could either have that catalog you could archive things, and now with Instagram, you can move things around. So don't feel like it has to be chronological. Even though you work that way, that could be a nice, helpful like way of like posting. It doesn't have to be
Hmm.
that way. Um, the way that you riff off of things, it's like I think it could just be fun if you like just go through like charts, whether it's famous people or people you read for before, and you just like do your thing. And there's something so powerful about creating, at least for me as a 30 or 20 in the moment. But I think it's going to be true for you as a 2-4 too, because there's something so pure that comes through you when you do that in that moment. So the less planned it can be, the better. The branding and the planning and the strategy, I think, will develop, but you're already going to have the basis of like that channeling coming through there to take you even
Hmm.
further, you know?
Hmm. And I've been reflecting on this, and I was thinking like, oh my goodness. I mean, I think it's so much my defined mind too. Pros and cons, high road, low road, but it's keeping me in this like there has to be a proper structured way. And because it's so much that goes into creating a brand as it is, I'm like, where do I start? And then because I don't have like the photo shoot and it's not polished in this, I've been like, but then how do I just jump to posting? Because my brain's like, it's got to be this way. So yeah,
Mhm.
it would be
Kristen, I
nice
was
maybe
just
not to have
gonna
a defined mind.
I was gonna say I held myself back for a long time because I um have started working for myself. And so I did hold myself back for a really long time. And then I one day made a business card like Staples. It was really fun actually. And then I got that, and the next day I started website because I had like all of these website builders open on my computer, but just never, I was like, that's overwhelming. I can't even go there. And I literally took all the photos by myself, like just on my phone and whatever. And I was like, this isn't gonna be my forever website, but at least it's something. Like my logo I made on the free Canva after a breathwork session one day. I like just did it, and then I sat on it for like 3 months, and then I was like, no, I'm using it. So I used it on my business card, and I used it on that. And like, so my business cards don't even have my website on it because I made my website after. I'm so backwards in all of it. But I don't know, sharing that to give you permission to just start where you're at because it doesn't have to be forever.
And I think Lindsay makes a really good point because it's the momentum gained and you're learning along the way. And so it's like you're not going to have like, well, if this, not, then that, da, 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 you know what I mean? Like sometimes I'm trying to leave the house, but I'm like, are the dishes in? Da, 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 like, and it's like, wait, no, I just want to get out. And then, so it's like interesting how to, but that's my open root center. Maybe because you have an open root too, Kristen, huh?
Defined.
Yours is defined.
I have both defined the pressure
Oh,
centers.
okay. So it's interesting that, yeah, I guess and do you have the 58? Not the 50,
Yeah, I have the 58, I believe. The joy of
the root, right? So it's also, it could be like
yeah.
perfectionism too, though, but that's the thing. It's like it's used, perfectionism in its highest like expression is excellence. So no wonder you want like the found everything to be at its purest, highest. But if that gift is keeping you from actually moving your life forward, then you know that it's the lower vibrational frequency of like that expressed gift. So it's like, okay, no, no more type of thing. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. I think it is a combination of the perfectionism and then just the fear of being seen.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like the totally open ego, and yeah, those things come into it and I'm like, oh no. But I almost have 10 post ideas. I'm going to do like the little synopsis things, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my profile, and then I'm going to do my husband's because he's also an emotional projector, but his profile changes. So then it can be a comparison between how you see how it changes with this. And then I'm going to do my daughter because she is she's emotional, same profile as my husband, but she's an MG. So then you can kind of like see how like these little pieces change. Um, and then I have some other ideas. So will I post? I hope, but I'm working towards it. So
Amazing. Yeah. So do you have a profile pic?
no, I need to take one.
That could be
So
fun.
now that I have my stand, I
Oh
mean now
yeah.
it's raining in Vancouver, so I might have to we might be in a rainy period right now, but hopefully the sun will come back.
Yeah. So don't let that stop you either. It could be like a color, or it could be a hotel, or it could be a little like, have a doorbell or something fun. Don't let that stop you. Definitely put your bio in there. And yeah, I'm excited for to see. I'll definitely follow along, but incredible. And then look into Square. And even if it's, when are you moving?
It'll be end of July that I'm actually in Switzerland.
Okay. So it might, depending on your like your projector energy and stuff like that, like you might want to set up a simple book thing for like after we go through the money module thing, like
Mhm.
setting up like what like the services that you want to offer and how much, just so that you could get like that book me on your thing so people have somewhere to go. You know what I mean? To potentially if they wanted to. And so that you could
Yeah,
get like, yeah,
yeah, that sounds
started.
good.
Okay, all right. So we'll continue the conversation further in Telegram. I'll have some of the things I said, I'll post in there, and then another chart. Oh yeah, actually, I will do the incarnation crosses and then the charts that you two will synthesize the incarnation crosses for next practice.
Sounds good.
Cool. All right.
Thanks so
Bye.
much. Bye.
Bye.